Hi and welcome to your yoga session today. Today we are doing a super simple, really accessible stretch into our hips and into our glutes. So if you've been doing a lot of working from home, a lot of sitting at your desk, these stretches are going to be perfect to release any tightness, not only in the hips, but also into the lower back. If we have tight glutes and tight hips, sometimes that can translate into lower back tightness. So you might be feeling that your lower back is feeling a little bit stiff. If you don't have any lower back injuries or any known conditions, then some gentle hip stretches might be just what you need to release the lower back, to release the hips, and generally give you a new lease for life to get through the rest of your day or the rest of your week. So welcome to your session. Come on and join me. If you've got a yoga mat, that's great. If you don't have one, don't worry, you don't actually need one for this class. Just make sure you've got enough space to practice. And as always, make sure you are fit and healthy before you join in. We're going to start on our backs. We're only going to be here for about 10 minutes or so, keeping it nice and short and nice and simple. So laying down onto your back. And then we're going to take the soles of the feet together and allow the knees to fall out to the side. And then you can just rest the hands onto the inner thighs. And then you can begin to connect with your breath. So if you're a yogi, if you've done a lot of classes maybe with me or with others before, then you might know that you want to try and breathe through the nose if you can. If you're new to yoga, if you're just here because you've sat at your desk all day and this has popped up, that's okay. Don't worry too much about the breath. Just think about allowing the body to relax with every exhalation. If you can, breathe in and out through the nose, but don't worry too much about it. And just allow that contact of the hands to the inner thighs to allow the inner thighs to soften. And if you're starting to feel any aggravation through the hips, then just wiggle the feet so they're further away from the hips, and you should feel that that releases a little bit and eases you into the pose. Always making sure, if you can, that in this pose you've got the lower back on the ground. So you don't want a huge arch through the spine. You want that lower back in contact with the mat, and that's going to help to decrease any tension there. We don't want to compress into our lower backs. So just spend a moment or two just here, breathing, allowing the hips to relax. And as you inhale, think about taking your inhalation all the way down the body, right to the base of the spine. Breathe deeply into your pelvis and into your hips. Even if our tension is held in our muscles, in our glutes, we might know it's there. But it might also be held deeper into internal, really deep tissue. So if you use your breath to help you relax, if you use that breath, that exhalation, that conscious relaxation as you breathe out, if you use that, you might also help not only those superficial muscles that we know and feel so obviously, you might also release tension deeper into your pelvis and into your hips. Some people carry their tension in their shoulders, others carry it in their hips. And you might be thinking, yep, it's definitely me, I hold it in my hips. Really use your breath today if that is you. And then when you're ready, just bring the knees up, just gently use the hands to bring the knees together and wheel the feet so they're hip width apart. Soles of the feet firmly planted to the ground, and then we're just going to rest the hands onto the chest or maybe outside of the body, palms pressing down, and just gently begin to move the knees side to side like windscreen wipers, so just moving left to right. If you are using your breath, if you're at that point in your yoga practice, then maybe if you want, you inhale as you come to center, you exhale as you move to one side. Inhale to center, exhale to the other side. Sometimes by using our breath with our movement, we can begin to find a relaxation, an almost meditative effect. So using that if you need, not only is that going to help the physical tension in your body from working from home, but also maybe just touching on that mental tension as well. On your next inhalation, coming back to center. If you have got the eyes closed, you might want to blink them open. we're just going to take our right foot onto our left thigh. So bend the right knee, take this outside of the right ankle onto the left thigh and flex that right foot so it's really nice and strong. The ankle is strong and stable. And then just take the hands outside of the body. Maybe that's enough. Maybe you just move the hips slightly side to side. If you want to take it further, you can lift up your left leg and just reach through and take a hold behind your left leg. See if you can release the shoulders back down to the earth, even if you've lifted that leg up. It might not be possible. You might be higher up, and that's okay. Don't worry. But if you can, begin to think about releasing towards the earth. Finding that gentle release through the hips, through the glutes. And just making sure, checking in with that right foot, that you're still active. That right foot, that flexion of the right foot protects the knee. It just means we're not getting any rotation through that knee. The knee doesn't rotate as a joint, it's a hinge joint. So we want to protect the ligaments on either side of that joint by flexing the foot. And if that all went over your head, don't worry about it. Flex your foot, that's all you need to know. When you're ready, release the left foot to the mat, but leave the right leg as it is. And then take the hands outside of the body and slowly release the legs down to the left-hand side and take your gaze to the right. And you might feel this somewhere in the shoulders, you might feel it in the hips. Just noticing where you're feeling it, not judging, just observing. And just take a few breaths here. You might want to close the eyes in each pose. I know I definitely am today. It's really soothing sometimes to close those eyes. And just feel the body. Inhale back to center. And then uncross the legs. Place the right foot to the mat. And we're going to switch sides. So bring left ankle onto right thigh. And this might be enough, connecting the hands to the legs, swaying the hips side to side. If you feel you want, if it feels accessible, then you can lift up and take a hold behind that right leg. Just double checking that left foot is still flexed. And you might notice one side is tighter than the other. For me, this side is a lot tighter. I can really, really feel that in my hip. Trying not to work through pain. So if you're working through pain, if it feels really uncomfortable, release the grip and put the foot back to the mat. If it just feels like a stretch, then maybe stick with it. Just really listen to your body. There's no need to overstretch. Overstretching is not great for our body, so really listen to your body today. Take a few cycles of breath, soften in. And then release that grip. Place the right foot to the mat, hands outside of the body, and exhale, release the legs over to the right. So you should end up somewhere with the outside of the right leg heading towards the mat. It may reach the mat, it may not. And that left knee points to the sky as the left foot heads towards the ground. Maybe the sole of the foot is on the earth. Both shoulders are in contact with the mat. And if you choose, you turn to look over that left shoulder. So we're finding a gentle rotation through the spine. And this is going to particularly perhaps open up into your outer hip. So we don't always focus on that outer hip quite so much. So we're just gently opening that. Maybe you also feel it in the inner thigh. Close your eyes if you wish. And take a good deep cycle of breath. Inhaling back to center when you're ready. And then keep the legs as they are, but then just cross the knees one on top of the other. So very ladylike sitting if you want. And then if you can, lift up the feet. And we're just going to reach behind and grab a hold of both thighs. So you're reaching all the way behind the right thigh and the left thigh is just sitting on top of the right. The knees just stacked one into another. The feet can flop, relax, whatever. Just let the feet go. And again, this is an outer hip stretch here. This might feel enough. If you know you've got any knee injuries or hip tightness, you might want to stay here. If you want to take it further, you can just sit up, gently take a hold of your ankles and then allow the shoulders to fall back down to the mat. Only do this if you either know that you're relatively flexible or relatively mobile in the hips, or if you've been doing yoga a while. If you're new to yoga, maybe stick with the option behind the thighs. Inhale through the nose, and as you exhale, think about using that exhalation to help you soften like we did when we started. And then release. And yoga's all about balance. So switch the legs over. Take a hold behind the left thigh, the right thigh sits on top. Release the head, the shoulders back to the mat. You may find you're not getting the shoulders down to the mat, that's okay. Just do your best to get them towards the mat. If you want to take it deeper, take a hold of those ankles. So some of you might recognize this as your cow face pose, which we can do when we're seated and upright. It feels pretty intense there. It feels pretty intense here. Breathe into it. Use that softness of your exhalation to bring softness into the body. Either breathing in and out through the nose or just breathing however feels good for you. Uncross the legs, take a hold behind the thighs and just rock gently up and back a couple of times, and then find yourself balancing on your sit bones tall through the spine, feet balanced off the ground if you can. We're going to come to our boat pose. Flex or point the feet, the choice is yours. So here we are strengthening our hip flexors. Our hip flexors often get weak and short when we sit at our desks. So here we're strengthening them, just bringing a slight bit of activity into the body. And then release, cross the legs and just gently walk the hands forward. Come into an easy forward fold, just gently floating forward with the body long through the spine, sit bones connected to the earth. Take a full cycle of breath. And then walk yourself up. And we're going to cross the legs the other way. Bear with me, it'll feel a little strange. Inhale, sit up tall, and then exhale, pour those hands forward just as you did before. Lengthen through the spine, pushing the sit bones down into the ground. Almost imagine a two-way pull through the tailbone and into the ground, and then through the crown of the head forwards. And then inhale, come up to center. We're just going to take our left leg long out in front of you. So if you want, you can just move back on your mat a little bit, and then take your right foot so it comes into your inner left thigh. If the knee is really high here, then bring the foot to the calf. It's always your choice. Flex the left toes. Inhale, sit up tall, and then turn to face over your right leg. And then from here, we're going to gently lower either the forearm all the way down to the shin, or if that feels too much, just rest the hand onto the shin and reach the right hand up and over. So we're coming into a side bend here. We're stretching out through the side of our hip. You can gaze up and underneath that top arm if you choose. If it's feeling really good and you've got the whole of that forearm on the leg, you might want to take it down to the ground. Just make sure that you're staying open with the chest. You're not collapsing forward. And then inhale, come back to center. We're just gently going to swap sides. So extend your right leg away. Draw your left foot into your inner thigh or your calf. Mirror what you did on the other side. Inhale, lift the hands up. And exhale, turn to the left to face over that left knee. Release the hand or the forearm down onto the shin. And gently lengthen left arm towards the front of your mats. Just make sure you're flexing those right tiptoes. And then just release yourself into the pose if you can. Try to find a softness, a sense of relaxation. And pause here. Use your breath to help you soften. And then inhale, come all the way back up to center. Just draw both feet in towards one another. Allow the knees to fall out to the side. And just take a hold of the insides of the feet, so the ankles and the feet. And spend a moment just connecting with your breath, just breathing into your body, noticing how much better the hips perhaps feel now. And then just gently bring the hands to the heart center. Thank you, everybody. Namaste. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope that that has released and opened up into your hips. If you enjoyed that yoga class, then do come and join me on a Wednesday evening for that sort of yoga and a little bit of meditation to help us reset and to get through our week. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I hope to see you again soon.